Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome to the Stroud Report podcast. Yes, if you're hearing my voice, it is just me today, Garrett Zatlin. Ben is not necessarily out, but we just could not make it work for the podcast schedule. Not on his fault. It's my fault. I've been traveling, and it was just easier for me to kind of sit down. So I just got back from Atlanta, where I watched the Hokies play South Carolina. And if you're a college football fan, you know that didn't end great for us, but I thought it was actually, a few highlights, right? So, but we're not talking about South Carolina today. We're not talking about Virginia Tech today. We are talking about the teams that are within the top 9 of our NCAA D1 cross-country team rankings for the Stroud Report. We'll be going over the entire rest of the list, right? We will go over 987654321 men and women's side. Yes, I'm going to try to keep this to about an hour. I always say that and go like 15, 20 minutes over. We'll see how this goes. Before we do so, great ratings and reviews again. I think we're up +1 on Apple. Shout out to Scotty, or I should say his wife, Michelle. She left a review saying, my husband, former TSR writer Scotty, insists that we listen to this on the road trips. I don't know much about NCAA running, but you guys are able to hold his attention and make him laugh. He always asks me to leave a review in 5 stars. Quotes for the boys. So here you go. Shout out to Scotty and shout out to Michelle. Thank you, Michelle. Really appreciate it. Scotty was a really, really great writer for us. Super, super reliable. So we miss him quite a lot and hope he's doing well. So shout out to Scotty. Let me also double check Spotify. Did we get any ratings and reviews there? I'm going to say we didn't, but let's check anyways. 212 still. So I think that's still the same number. Regardless, shout out to the Lachmans. Thank you. Appreciate it. All right. Let's chat. You, me, cross country. We're just going to chat, riff a little bit, whether you're in your car or maybe this is on at the bar. Who knows? It's not. But it's not the point. Today we're going to talk about cross country team rankings, and we're going to start on the men's side with number 9, picking up from where we left off. It's Notre Dame. The Notre Dame men. A team that we've had a complicated relationship with, a team that is on paper really, really good, just across the board deep, good firepower. They have the right pieces, so on and so forth. But it feels like they haven't really ever, at least not ever, but in the last 2-3 years maybe, haven't really delivered on their potential. This year they're expected to have Dylan Throop, the grad transfer from Penn. He was a 27th place All-American last fall. Isaiah Sturry returns. He was 24th place All-American. Ethan Coleman, 13:27 5K, 28:19, and then guys like Drew Griffith, Dalian Ackley, Kevin Sanchez, CJ Singleton. Maybe there's other guys like Ryan Pajak or Cameron Todd who come in, or maybe there's a new recruit who I'm not even thinking of off the top of my head. But this team's stacked, and on paper they're stacked. And we've kind of said that the last few years, and we've let them crack the top 10 in the preseason rankings over the last few years. But they'll just have moments where I'm like, what are you? I just need more, right? Like they beat NAU at the start of last year to win Joe Piani invite. That was huge. And I was like, nice, great win. Less exciting at pre-nationals. I want to say they were like 10th, right? And you'll all have to apologize that I type away here on my laptop. I only have so many notes available without Ben to riff with me here. I'm sorry, was that Nutty Comb? Or was this? Never mind. Picked the wrong one. There we go. It was at pre-nationals. I take that back. It was at pre-nationals where they were 7th. And another good result, solid result. Not the podium result we wanted out of them, but a fine result. And then they went to ACCs and got 6. And I was pretty hard on them. And as I thought about it more, I thought, you know what? I don't know if I was hard enough on them. 6th place was really tough. That was a really, really bad run. Ethan Coleman was their top finisher in like 18th place. And then they went on to the national meet where I think that was where they got 10th. Yeah, that's where they got 10th. This team on paper is better than that, though. Like Throop, Sturry, and Coleman are probably All-Americans this fall. Sturry wasn't super consistent last fall, but he peaked when it matters, and that's half the battle sometimes. The depth is crazy good, great upside. Griffith and Ackley are really, really good. Like Griffith could be ready to make a jump. I like Sanchez's reliability. I'm convinced Singleton can still be good on the grass. There was so much talent here. They're complete through 7. They're complete through 8, maybe. I believe in this team. I don't think it's impossible for them to get on the podium. They need a couple things to go their way, but this is a good team. But can you give me can everyone deliver on the same day at the national meet to not just their best performances, but maybe just their full potential? If that happens, they're probably on the podium or close to it, maybe like 5th place at the national meet, but just at times a little bit of a weird team. Don't really ever know what you're getting out of them, but crazy talented, very complete. 3 All-American candidates, tons of upside, tons of depth. On paper, a challenging team to dislike. I'll tell you that much. Let's move on to Alabama at number 9. The Alabama women, I should say, at number 9. Doris Lemengal, Brenda Two-Way, elite 1-2 punch. Crazy good. Maybe not elite yet, just because Two-Way is not quite at that level. I mean, she was 4th at SEC's last fall, 29th at NCAA's, but still really good, right? I mean, you got a really good 1-2 punch that you're very, very confident in. You got to be pretty happy with that. The challenge, however, is that you lose Feline Charuto and you lose Addison Dornkamp, 2 women who were just inside the top 90 at the national meet. And for a team that really doesn't have much margin for error, for a team that really doesn't have much depth, that's concerning. Like, that's really concerning. You really need that stability in the middle of your lineup. And those 2 women transferred out. You know, Charuto went to Missouri. Dornkamp went to Colorado. Like, the idea is that you were supposed to have them for this fall and then add to that. So it's very frustrating to lose that. It feels like Coach Nick Steniff has just been like, man, just him and this team has been hit with like departure after departure. And I don't know why. Like, this is a good team. They've had success. They've peaked for the postseason. You know, the fact that Steniff was able to, Alabama lost Will Palmer, right, to Florida. And then in turn, they lost Hilda Olumwamwe to Florida. They lost Philomena Asicol to Florida. They lost Amaris Tenissima to NC State, right? Now they lose Charuto. Now they lose Addison Dornkamp. And yet he has still come through with top 10 finishes each year. They were 8th in 2023, I want to say. And then last fall, they were 10th. This year, they bring in Karen Kiplagat from Kenya, 16:04 5K at altitude, and Cynthia Jibutai, 9:25 3K at altitude. I'll admit, those aren't amazing times. Altitude certainly helps those times. Like, they make them considerably better, but a lot of international newcomers have run pretty fast at altitude. The difference, though, with Alabama is that their international athletes almost always hit. Maybe they're not always consistent, or maybe there's, a challenge here or there. But especially under Steniff, these international women have been really good. So sure, we don't really know what Kiplagat can offer on the grass. We don't know what Jibutai can offer on the grass. Still, I don't know what the history says that says they won't be good, or they won't be stability scorers, or that they can't at least partially emulate, what Dornkamp and Charuto left behind. And then behind them, Lily Walters. She's the 5th woman in this lineup, at least projected. She's going to be the X factor. 9:19 3K, 10:06 steeple this past spring. 177th at NCAA's last fall, roughly aligned with how her season went as a whole. If she translates her track success, this team has the potential to be better than they were last fall. Probably 6-7 range, maybe. I guess it depends also on Kiplagat and Jibutai, like how good we feel about them. But like, Walters really feels like this major X factor for this team, because the depth after her, it's not great. It's not good. Izzy Sullivan, new recruit, 9:33 3K on the outdoor oval, 19th at NXN in 2022. Solid, but rookie and still pretty unproven. And then Leah Kleekamp, 16:55 5K. No margin for error, great firepower, uncertainty in the back end. really low floor if one thing goes wrong, which is not great. It's a little concerning. So we'll see. We'll see. Moving on. I'm going to bring us now to, there we go. Bring us now to the Wisconsin men, TSR number 8. If I had told you last fall, going into last fall, that this team was going to lose Liking, they were going to lose Spencer, they were going to lose Ellenberg, I don't think anyone would have even remotely thought that they could be a top 10 team still. Well, they were 4th last fall with those guys, and they lose those guys now going into 2025. This team has pretty much, I don't want to say no firepower, but they have no All-American favorites. Christian Duvall, Matani Ivry, Micah Wilson, Liam Newhart, Johnny Livingston, Archie Noakes, Josh Truchon. Those guys, though, offer some incredible pack running. They offer incredible upside. They offer incredible depth, incredible stability. There is a significant lack of firepower on this team. I hear you. I see it. I understand. But man, the options that they have through like 8 or 9 guys, like I didn't even mention like Giles or Meisner or like Manny. Is it Manny Perez? No, that's NAU, right? Did I get that mixed up? But they've got a really strong young guy still. I want to say he's either a freshman or sophomore. But I mean, this is a very complete team. It's not flashy. In a lot of instances, they haven't been, right? But I'm really high on Duvall, really high on Ivry. Those two guys were clutch last postseason. Wilson, I think, has done enough to prove that he can show up. I mean, he was way better at the national meet than he was anywhere else, which gives me a little like cautiously optimistic about him this fall. Like Liam Newhart a lot. I think he just struggled at the end of the postseason. In fact, I don't even know if he ran past Big Tens. I don't think he did. I think he seemingly had some off days there, and then whatever happened, I don't know. But Johnny Livingston, Noakes has great upside. He could be a huge X factor. Depth is not like the team probably has relative to their ceiling. I don't know. They got a really, really high floor, but I don't want to say they have a low ceiling, because if half of these guys pop, right, or half of these guys make big improvements, then maybe they're better than 8th. I don't know, but I like this team a lot. I struggle to see where the flaw is, like where the true flaw is. Like, yes, I know, no firepower, no proven firepower, at least as like an All-American level, but hard to dislike these guys. Just a complete good overall team. And I don't really know if there's anything more I can say about that. Let's move on. Washington women, weird team, just like conceptually. They were outstanding last fall. Outstanding. And then Big Tens, they lost to Oregon by 27 points. Not ideal. Yes, Oregon was really, really good, but would have liked it to be a little closer, right? They won Nuttycombe. I think they were 2nd at pre-nationals. And then they were like, what were they at the national meet? They were 13th after being considered a podium favorite at one point last fall. They have 4 realistic All-American women. That's the thing with them. Mia Cochran comes in from Arkansas. She was 41st at NCAA's last fall. Chloe Forrester, 16th at Pre-Nats, 6th at Big Tens. Maeve Stiles, 8th at Nuttycombe, 59th at NCAA's. Julia David-Smith, 1534 5K, 12th at Nuttycombe. Through 4 women, like they have great firepower. The catch to that is, A, will they all run well on the same day? Because like to most parts, despite the regular season success they had, they didn't really always run well on the same day, right? And for as good as they have been, like Stiles hasn't been super consistent at times, right? David Smith, kind of, you're always going to get a good high floor with these top 4 women, but are they all going to hit their ceiling? Or are they going to hit their full potential, their low stick potential? And sometimes I don't really know if we ever really get a good concrete answer out of that. But if all 4 of these women hit as All-Americans, then Washington's a podium team, no problem. But you lose Sophie O'Sullivan, you lose Amina Matug, and you lose one other name, India Weir, who, by the way, was sneaky good after reviewing her resume. She was great last fall. So the drop off in depth is substantial. Like this team does not have nearly as complete of a lineup as they did last fall. The catch, Samantha Tran does return. The catch to that, she's a two-time top 100 finisher at the NCAA XC Championships, which is great. 90th and 100th place, I want to say. But she hasn't raced on the grass since the fall of 2022. And she hasn't raced on at all since February 2024, I want to say. So I don't really know. Like, I don't know what I'm getting out of her. I just don't. Now, if she's in top form, awesome. Like, that's huge for Washington, where they just need to field a top 5 that's complete. Ella Borshim, 119th at NCAA's in 2023. Not as good in 2024, but like she has the potential. 917 3K as your 6 runner, pretty solid. Like, not a bad thing to have. And then Isabel Olsen, huge breakout season with Colorado College at the D3 level that last fall. She was 10th at the NCAA D3 XC Championships in 2024. It's a solid back end group. It's not a lot. There's a lot of questions with that back end group between Tran and Borshim and Olsen. But they just need one, right? They just need one. I think this team has podium potential. Last year's national meet and postseason in general was pretty discouraging, not going to lie. And they lose a lot of their depth. So the middle ground of like, hey, you being on the podium at your highest last fall, and then you guys struggling a lot at the national meet and now losing a lot of depth. What's the middle ground between that? And I think it's 8th. So we put them at TSR number 8. But an interesting team, a fun team. And I think a team that like, we think about them very differently now with Cochran. I think Cochran really changes the outlook of this team. If not, they're probably 11th or 12th in our rankings. Does that seem right? Let's move off of Washington. We'll go to men's side, Oregon. Oregon Ducks, a team that has been slowly building, slowly recruiting, adding a piece, developing. Last fall, you began to see the Jerry Schumacher vision slowly come into play. They were 4th, 3rd at Big Tens, I want to say. Let me double check here. I'm going back to these results from last fall. They were 3rd behind Washington. They actually tied Washington for 2nd, lost the tiebreaker, settled for 3rd. And then went to the national meet where they were 13th, I want to say. 14th, excuse me. They're 14th. Aiden Smith, huge breakout postseason last fall, ran 28-21 in the 10K this past spring. He was an All-American on the grass. Simeon Beerbaum, 4th at Big Ten cross country, 74th at nationals. And then they bring in some dudes, right? Michael Morales, 2nd at Big Ten XC with UCLA. Off day at West Regional meet, didn't advance to the national meet. The dude's a borderline top 50 runner at his best. He's really good. Limited sample size. Abdel Lagel, I don't know if I'm saying that right, from Providence, a veteran, 13:29 5K, 28, 29 10K. He's been way better since he last competed on the grass in 2023. Really like him. Evan Bishop was injured this last year, slowly rallied on the track. He was 4th at Big Tens in 2023. Connor Burns, the Big Ten Indoor 5K champion, 13:39 5K. Benny Balazas? I don't know. 8:22 in the steeple at USA's, and then an NCAA 3K steeplechase All-American. I mean, the list goes on, right? Like, this team is stacked. I mean, they've got crazy number of options. They've got a crazy amount of upside. It's so good. The upside, the potential for this team is so raw and it's so immense that, like, could I see them on the podium if everything goes right, or if even half of these guys like begin to deliver on that upside? I wouldn't put it out of their reach. I don't know if relative to where they're ranked, any team in our rankings has the same upside that this group does. And that's kind of been the story of this team for the last year or two, right? Crazy good upside. But still unproven. And there's been, questions. Where's Connor Burns this past spring, right? Bishop was injured this last year, right? Or last year, I should say. Benny Balazs, right? How does he translate that steeplechase success to the grass, right? Michael Morales, he had a hiccup at the West Regional meet, right? Aiden Smith's postseason last fall was really, really good, but can he replicate that? Like, that's a lot. So there are a lot of question marks, right? Like with unproved, like with guys who are young and high upside, and I shouldn't really even say that this team's young. They're still pretty proven nowadays, but we're still kind of like waiting for some of these guys to truly pop. And if even just half of them pop, this is a scary team. But there are still questions. Not as many questions as maybe last year, but there are still questions. So, all right, moving off of Oregon, we're going to go on the women's side to Stanford. It's pretty much the same team as last year, except you switch Zofia Dudek with Mina Scatchard from Princeton. Amy Bunnage, fourth at NCAA's last fall, didn't debut last fall until the West Regional meet. She's incredible, 15 flat 5K, 843 3K. Sophia Kennedy, 33rd at NCAA's last fall, but what she did on the track, 842 3K, 1510 5K, she was phenomenal. She could be a top 10, might even be a top 10 name now for this fall. And then behind them, you got Riley Stewart, 1554 5K, 58th at NCAA XC. Mina Scatchard, 428 mile, silver medalist in the mile at indoor national meets. She was second at Ivy Leagues. I want to say she was top 120, top 130 at the national meet last fall. Let's check, shall we? 123rd. There we go, 123rd. And then you bring in the veterans. You return veterans like Julia Flynn, Nicola Hogg. And the X factor, like the real one that could bring the pop, that could bring the upside. Two rookies, one in particular being Han Thompson, 9:48 for 3,200 meters in 3 NXN appearances in her career. I mean, if she translates that to the grass, I mean, that 9:48 mark suggests that you're a top 50 runner in theory. Again, in theory. Questions about this team. One, what's the rest of the depth look like? I don't really feel like I do not feel good about this team past. Like I think this team's fine after 5. I think they're uncertain after 7. I don't really like them after 7. They've got a good 5, they've got a solid 7, and they've got a lot of question marks after that. Julia Flynn and Nicola Hogg, for what they need to be decent back-end support scores, they'll at least keep things stable. Flynn was 119th at NCAA's last fall. Stewart needs to be more consistent. Thankfully, she showed up at NCAA's last fall. She was awesome on that stage. Haven't seen Amy Bunnage since the indoor national meet. She's had availability issues, injury issues in the past. That's a little concerning. Don't really know what Mina Scatchard will do on the grass. You would think that she's going to be way better on the grass compared to last fall after making the jump that she did. But who's to say, right? And so there's just questions, right? Like, I don't think this team is going to be much worse than like 10 or 11 in the rankings. But man, their ceiling's a little tricky. Like, I don't know what their ceiling is. I don't know if I see them past like 6 or 5, right? And I know that's a little insulting for a team that's ranked at 7, but like they would have to have, like, I don't like Kennedy and Bunnage can't really do much better. Like, yes, but Kennedy could be, 23 spots higher, sure. But in the grand scheme of things, like, who's really getting that much better? And I don't know if I have the answer to that. But are they a good team through 5, solid team through 7? Yeah, I think so. So, kind of, I don't want to say kind of like Oregon, but kind of like Notre Dame. Maybe not as much upside, but solid team on paper. Couple questions, but overall solid. All right, we're moving off of Stanford, and we're going to go to number 6. Number six. On the men's side, it's UVA. It is the Virginia men. Gary Martin, incredible. We know that. And Will Anthony, who, when he's at his best, he's on. And then they bring in a bunch of new dudes. It's Nicholas Benson, who was a cross-country All-American in 2023. Brett Gardner, 17th at ACC cross-country championships last fall. He was also 31st at pre-nationals. I want to say he was where was he at nationals? Let's find out, shall we? Gardner, 122nd. I think he was actually a little bit higher than that in 2023. Let me double check there. He was 51st in 2023. So pretty good. Pretty good name to have there. Daniel O'Brien from Princeton. Just like Benson, they bring him in from Princeton. He was 94th at NCAA XC. Really solid back-end guy. May not even be a scorer for this team, but like you want stability on the back end. You want a veteran on the back end. You put him there. Justin Wachtel, 13:34 5K this past spring, NCAA 5K National Meet qualifier as well. Talented. And we've seen the talent for like 3 years. Like we know he's crazy talented. Hasn't really always given it to us on the grass. Like we're still waiting to see it. Pretty inconsistent. But maybe after this past spring that all changes. Who knows? Will Daly, also another key name to consider there. On paper, a podium team. On paper, probably like a fourth place podium team. Anthony has not been great in the postseason, or at least the national meet. He's been actually good in the postseason, but he needs to be better on the national stage. He's a top 50 runner in the country, no doubt, but can he deliver on the national stage? Benson, at his worst, he's a top 80 runner, as we saw last fall. Like at his highest, he's a top 30 or almost top 30 All-American. Last fall wasn't his best, but he was still top 80 at the national meet. Really nice guy to have at your 3-4 spot. Gardner, 122nd in the national meet. Okay, not great, but 51st in 2023. Great steeplechase season. Solid last fall throughout most of it. Really nice name to have at that 4 spot. Nathan Mountain, 820 steeplechase. 2-time top 20 finisher at ACC championships. You can see how you put all this together, the best performances of this team, and they're really, really good. Here's the issue, though. This team has struggled greatly at the national meet for at least the past 2 years, maybe even 3. Last fall, Virginia fell outside of the top 20. They took 21st, right? And then let's bring this back a little bit. The year before that, I want to say they were also 21st back in 2023. Bear with me now. They were 22nd, excuse me. And then in 2022, they were 22nd again. So in the last 3 years, going from 25, 24, 23, they finished 21st at the national meet, 22nd at the national meet, and 22nd at the national meet. Despite getting top 10 preseason rankings from us, or close to that, I think on all occasions. Maybe not back in 2022, but the national meet has been a struggle for them. They have to be better. They have to be. Like that's why, like on paper, they're a podium team, but we put them at 6 because like this is like a very similar conversation that we've had before. They got to be better when it matters. Is this the best team they've had in the last 3 years? Yes. Maybe even beyond that, frankly. This is a very good team. There's depth past 7. I think they're like 8 or 9 deep. Pretty good. Like they've got crazy good depth. They've got proven All-Americans, multiple proven All-Americans, guys who have yet to be All-Americans and should be All-Americans, and at the very least can provide great stability. Like if Nathan Mountain's your 5th guy, that's a really good problem to have. Got to show up at the national meet. All right, moving off of Virginia. Number 6 on the women's side is Florida. I love this team. Love. I think they're way better than last year, and I think they were still pretty darn good last year. Last year, the Florida women were 12th. Where were they? I don't even see them. Oh, this is back in 2022. That's why. Let's go back up to 2024. I want to say they were 12th. Yes, they were 12th. They returned Hilda Olamomwe. They returned Tia Wilson. They returned Bethan Morley. Olamomwe, yes, I know availability, questions about her health or status. As long as she's had enough time to rally and be ready by November, she'll be fine. Low stick superstar, no question. Tia Wilson, 1547 5K. She was 63rd at NCAAs. Great upside. She came in with great pedigree. I don't think that national meet result was a fluke. Great result by her. Bethan Morley, 106 at NCAAs. Probably the better end of her season, but about roughly on par. And then 426 miler this past winter. I think she's a really nice number 4. And the reason why I say she's a number 4 is because I think Judy Chipkowick, the transfer from Arizona State, is a number 2. She was an NCAA All-American last fall. She was 4th at the crazy top-heavy Big 12 championships. She gives this team a massive injection of firepower. And then it's the supporting cast behind her, right? Not just Wilson, not just Morley. Desma Chepkowick from Kenya, 16-16 5K at altitude. Okay, fine. Even if she's like not in a 1540s runner converted, who cares? If she's like a top 110, 120 runner at the national meet, still a great result. Like you would take that from Chepkowick, Desma Chepkowick, no problem. Isabel Jones from the UK, Will Palmer, clearly had great success with Wilson and Morley, who are both from the UK. Last year, Jones, 1551 5K, 920 in the 3K. She's got talent. Right now, she's our projected 6th runner. If that's your 6th runner, very good problem to have. Reagan Gilmore, 13th at Gaines Creek last fall. She was 1604 in the 5K. That could be their 7th runner. Their 8th runner might be Claire Stegall. Stegall? I don't know. 958 for 3,200 meters. This team has got some weapons. Questions. There are questions, no doubt. What's Olamonwoy's status? Can Wilson replicate that national meet finish? I think she will. Morley needs to be a little bit better than 106 at the national meet, and that was still probably on the better end of what she did last fall. Don't really know much about Chepkowick. Don't really know much about Jones. Can Gilmore further build? Will Stegall do anything? As a rookie, right? Like, these are all legitimate questions. These are all fair questions to have. But man, the upside is tantalizing. The talent is tantalizing. I really like this team. I think they got so many weapons. I think if they were 12th last year at the national meet, they have got very clearly gotten better since. Very clearly. And if they were 12th last year, and they have upside, and they've brought in multiple pieces, they're way deeper, they're way more complete. I like them at 6. I like them at 6 a lot. I don't know if Ben would agree. Do you think he would? I don't know. I have a feeling Ben would be like, yeah, I just have a lot of questions. This team ran pretty well at nationals. They were 10th, I want to say, at pre-nationals. I can just hear Ben's voice right now. Let's double check. Where were they at pre-nationals? Yeah, they were 10th. So we'll see. All right, moving off. We're going to number 5 on the men's side, Wake Forest. We have been crazy high on Wake Forest for so long. I mean, as of like 3 years ago, 3 years ago, we're like, this is the team of the future, and we've been right. Like we've been like, no one has been higher on the Wake Forest men over the last 2 falls than we have, because we can see the talent, we can project. Like we ranked them at 11th last year, and everyone was like giving them very disrespectful preseason rankings, which it kind of blew me away. I was like, this team's going to be like, 11th might be conservative. And sure enough, they were great. They were 7th at the national meet, with Rocky Hansen placing 100th. This year they have Rocky Hansen, who is hopefully going to be fully healthy, which, knock on wood. Charlie Sprott, cross-country All-American last fall. Jojo Jordan, high school phenom, 46 at NCAA last fall. He was an NCAA 5K qualifier. Joseph O'Brien, very reliable veteran, 28-15 for 10K, 56 at NCAA XC. And then a bunch of depth, a bunch of youngsters, and a bunch of questions. Aiden Ross, Wake Forest Invite 10K champion in 28-14 for 10K. Really, really good. I really, really like him. Does not appear that he'll be racing this fall. That's a tough hit. We had Wake Forest at 4. And then Ross was out. And we bumped him down. Now, you would think that, okay, well, the Ross potentially being out, that probably bumps him back more than just a spot, right? honestly, I think the gap is pretty large from the top 5 to the rest. I do. Maybe not. Maybe Virginia. Maybe I should say the top 6. Virginia, you could argue at 5, fine. Like, okay, so be it. But from like the top 6 on, there's a gap. Pretty significant one. I don't know who's going to be their 5th man. That's concerning. Ross was supposed to be that 5th man. I think it's going to be Winter. He ran 13:47 in the 5K, 71st at Nuttycombe. I love the potential of Hunter Jones. I think Hunter Jones has some of the most untapped upside of like any non-scorer projected right now. 13:48 5K, 8:46 steeple, but like the dude was just an aerobic beast in high school. This is a podium team if everyone hits, or more specifically, if they find a 5th man. Their top 4 can all be All-Americans. We have them, all 4 of them ranked in our top 50 preseason, but there are questions like Hansen's health, right? Like, yes, Hansen had heat stroke at ACCs and then couldn't really rally back, and I frankly don't blame him, but he looks healthy. He looks like he's been back firing on all cylinders. Just get him to November in one piece. That's ultimately the goal. Can Sprott replicate his All-American honor from last fall? Possible. Seems reasonable, at least. Jordan seems like destined to be a top 30 or top 40 All-American, right? O'Brien, like even if he's not a top 40 All-American, top 50 is still pretty darn good for your 4th guy. Gotta find a 5th man. Moving off, going to the NAU women. Okay, so here's the thing. They lose a ton of pieces. They lose Elise Stearns. They lose Allie Upshaw. They lose Maggie Congdon. They lose probably one other name who I'm not, Alex Carlson. They lose Alex Carlson. That's a lot of scoring. That is a lot of scoring. But this is NAU. Carrie Balaga, I know she hasn't been very consistent on the grass. She's had a few hiccups. She's like throughout her career, there's been a few inconsistencies. She's still talented, though. She ran 15:24 in the 5K. She was 7th at Joe Pione last fall. I believe in her. I will not give up on her. She is very, very good. Please believe me. Even if she doesn't always show it at the national meet. And then you bring in Agnes Mateague from Florida State, 5K All-American this past spring, 9th at ACCs. Kira Moore, 31st at pre-nationals and 60th at cross-country national meet. Ava Mitchell, 15:31 5K, NCAA 5K national meet qualifier. Haley Burns, 15:39 in the 5K, 74th at pre-nationals. Nikita Moore, 57th at pre-nationals and 95th at the NCAA cross-country championships. Simply put, a ton of depth that frankly goes beyond the 7 women who I just even mentioned. Let me take a look here. Like, who else am I missing? That might kind of be it. Emma Stutzman. Emma Stutzman's probably the other one who I would keep an eye on, but like this roster's stacked. They've got so many good women. They've got so much talent. And the one woman who I've yet to name and why I think like, hey, they could maybe still be on the podium is Addie Engel, the Ohio State graduate transfer. If you're a diehard fan, then you know who I'm talking about. She was 10th at the NCAA XC Championships in 2022. She has been 61st at 2021, 10th in 2022, and she was 66th in 2023, has been absent / redshirting since then. If Engel is in top form or close to it, she's the top runner on this team, probably an All-American, and NAU still has a shot at the podium. We were doing this article and we saw Engel on the roster. This is a huge pickup. This will probably not get national attention, just for who knows what reason. But Engel is a massive pickup if she's still at top form, if she hasn't raced in who knows how long, but huge win there. There are so many pieces on this lineup. I refuse to believe that NAU won't be good. I still believe in them. You could have convinced me to put them at 4. really good team. And honestly, I don't really know what the downside is. Like, I don't know what the flaw is. Like, yeah, okay. Like, not even your supporting cast is like inexperienced or like unaccomplished on the grass. Their projected seventh runner, according to our list, is 95th at NCAA's. So, pretty good result for your top 7. So, all right, moving on to 4, BYU men. Yes, the defending national champions. Here's the thing. I think BYU develops better than anyone else. I think their depth is quite easily over the life cycle of TSR. I think it's been the best depth, cross-country depth that we've been around. They lose 4 All-Americans. They're top 4 men from the national meet. They lose Klinger, they lose Noakes, they lose Cree Thompson, and they lose Lucas Bonds. For most teams, that would be crushing. I mean, that would send you beyond outside of the top 10. That would put you at like 14 at least. I mean, that's just a ridiculous amount of talent to lose. I don't know if off the top of my head, the last time I can remember a men's team losing like that much talent and then still being really good. I just off the top of my head, I'm sure it's maybe happened, but I can't remember. James Corrigan, steeplechaser, not All-American last fall, but an All-American the year before. I trust him. He'll be a low stick. Davin Thompson, 2-time top 50 finisher at the NCAA XC Championships, was still kind of rallying last fall from an injury and then has seemingly gotten back to his top self this past spring and winter. I think he'll be close to All-American form, or at least close to top 50 form yet again this fall. The new addition is Thomas Boyden, who might be the most naturally talented long-distance runner on this roster. And by long distance, I mean like 5K up. I know, we can argue Corrigan, but I mean long distance, 5K, 10K. He's run 7:41 3K, 13:21 5K, and 28:06 10K. He has really struggled at the national meet across country. I think his highest is like 75th, but even then, his other results have not been great. He's an All-American talent at his best, especially after the past year on the track. But the former Stanford runner needs to be better on the national stage. Thankfully, I think BYU can put him there. The depth, not concerned about it at all. Tavon Kitchen, ultra elite recruit. I think he's a phenomenal fit for BYU. 8:33 for 3,200 meters, 13:59 for 5K. He was our 3rd ranked recruit in our class of 2025 rankings. Luke Grunwig, NCAA 5K qualifier for the national meet this past spring. Isaac Hendegren, 8:30 in the steeplechase. Jacob Stanford, who was 21st at Nuttycombe. We have him as like their 7th runner. They're complete. They've probably got guys complete through 9 or 10. They've got upside. They've got 3 guys who could realistically be All-Americans. They're still going to be in the podium hunt. Could they be in the title hunt? I think in the men's race, I think it's possible. A lot would need to happen. Some things would need to happen to the other teams that would not be great for those teams, but good for BYU. But it's not impossible. But national title favorites, I don't know if I'm willing to put BYU there. All right, women's side, New Mexico. Remember when we were asking the question like, hey, is New Mexico's dynasty done now that Joe Franklin left? Well, that was 2 years ago. And after was that 2 years ago. And in the ensuing fall, they weren't great that following fall. And then last year, 2024, they're pretty darn good. It's because Gosson recruits, and he kills it in recruiting internationally. Pamela Kosky, I mean, she's as elite as elite can get. We can go on and on and on. She's, probably a 2 or 3 point scorer. She's great. Marian Chipnagedich, the 4th place finisher in the NCAA Outdoor 5K this past spring, 15:22 5K. She's going to be a great low stick, highly potent. Mercy Carrari, 35th place NCAA All-American last fall, another highly potent name. Through 3 runners, you have a trio of really scary women. Really, really scary women. then things become a little questionable. Alice Seguin from France, 15:33 5K. There's been a lot of like hype from not just us, but from others we've spoken to about Seguin, about like what we think she can be. She hasn't yet raced on the grass for New Mexico, excuse me, but 15:33 5K is pretty impressive. I mean, if that's your fourth score, then that's a really good thing. Nicola Jansen also returns in theory. All-American in 2023. I mean, she was really good that season. Really, really good. And we have her projected right now as the fifth runner, mainly because we just don't know what her status is going to be. Like, we don't know. Like, yes, she ran a seasonal best under 33 minutes, close to her PR in the 10K at the World University Games for South Africa. She's really talented at her best. Can she replicate her 2023 All-American form? I don't know. But even if she's at like 80%, still a nice fifth runner to have. And then behind her, Judy Rono, Tilly Simpson, probably Jasmine Wood would be the other one. Maybe Peyton Shipe. Still a lot of questions about that depth. Like, I don't love this team after 5. There's questions after 3. In fact, Karari, like, we haven't seen her race since December. What's her status? She's probably going to be fine, but there's some question marks. This team also has crazy good firepower. I mean, in a best case scenario, Kazgi, Jepnikevich, Karari are all All-Americans. Jansen, again, has proven to be an All-American. Could she be a fourth All-American? And if so, is Seguin a 15:33 5K runner? Could she be an All-American? Like, if you go down the list by each of those 5 runners and say, do you think they have the potential to be an All-American? I'd say yes. They get to Seguin, and I'd say, maybe. And then Jansen, I'd say yes. And in that case, now you're not just talking about like podium. You're talking about something a little more special there. So, okay, moving off of that, we're going to, on the men's side, Oklahoma State. The Oklahoma State Cowboys, tough end to their season last year. They settled for 8th place after going into the season as the heavy national title favorites. They were juggernauts. And then they struggled. They lost to BYU at the Big 12 Championships, 8th at NCAAs. Here's the thing. Brian Masal, Dennis Kipnigetich both return. They were both top 10 in 2023. They were top 11 in 2024. To maybe the best 1-2 punch this fall? I'm trying to think. Yeah, probably the best 1-2 punch in the NCAA this fall, if I had to really think about it. And that's great. Fawad Massaudi struggled last fall, rallied on the track. I don't think he's going to – I'm not as worried about him now. So we can ignore – I don't want to say ignore him, but like I'm not as worried despite him struggling a lot last fall. I mean, he didn't race at Midwest. He was 32nd in Big 12s. He was 222nd, but then he was way, way better on the track. 13:25 5K. Not worried about him at all. He was a 2-time top 15 All-American on the grass. He was 10th in 2023. He was 12th in 2022. Basically what I'm saying is that Oklahoma State has a fearsome top 3. It's probably the best top 3 in the country, if I had to think about it. Yeah, probably. At least when they're all firing on all cylinders, right? The depth is really questionable now, right? Because now you lose Victor Shisama, right? You lose one other guy who I'm not even seeing or thinking of right now. I don't know. Maybe that's not it. Maybe that is it. You lose Shitsama, though, and trying to replicate his scoring impact, at least in the middle of this lineup. Like, he was a 4-time All-American. Last year was the first time that he wasn't an All-American. Yes, he went to 5 national meets. But, like, there's questions about the back end of this lineup. Like, Laban Kipkemboy, he was 107th at the national meet. Is he going to improve upon that? Like, was that a fluke? Was that an accurate reflection? He was 19th at Big 12 XC. He was second at Weiss Crockett. He was third at Cowboy Jamboree. Good regular season, postseason. Adisa Guedia, 28-10 for 10K. He was 50th at the 2023 NCAA XC Championships. Hasn't been great this past academic year. Like, he was 110th last fall. Struggled on the track. He was great at the Stanford Invite, 28-15 there. But you kind of need more. He struggled in his last two races there. Like, there are significant questions. Ryan Shoppy returns. And the guy is crazy talented on the track. He's one of the most underrated 3K runners in the nation, I think. But he's not really ever translated it to the grass. He was 121st on at the national meet last year, 13:28 in the 5K this past spring. But like we keep asking, like, when is Shoppy going to translate the track success to the grass? Hasn't really happened. And so I'm a little like I should maybe take that back. He was 53rd at the national meet in 2022, right? So, okay, if he does that, that's great. But this is a team that we have ranked third in our rankings, right? You need to find a 4-5. Now, they have Aiden Granados, right? They have, Jacob Deacon. They have, who else do they have here? Looks like they bring back Stitt. Will Muirhead, I like a lot. Henry Dover, right? Like, there's guys. Like, they have some dudes. Alex Riley, their newcomer, he ran 13:41 in the 5K on the roads. It's still, but like for a team that's ranked at 3, you need to have a little bit more certainty at the 4, 5, frankly 6, 7 spots. So, do I think they're going to find a 4? Yeah, I do. I think they're going to find a great 4. We're not going to have an issue there. It's the 5 question that I have a question for. Like, I don't know who their 5 is going to be. I don't know if they know who their 5 is going to be. But this is Dave Smith, like Coach Dave Smith at Oklahoma State. I'm just not. I'm not questioning him. So we have them at 3, elite firepower. They'll find a 4. A lot of questions about the depth. A lot of questions, but they kind of get the benefit of the doubt with the questionable depth, given what they've done lately. Especially if they add like another international newcomer, kind of like they did 2 years ago with Kepnegedic and Masao, excuse me. They do that again, then this is an entirely different conversation. That's also partially built into this ranking at TSR number 3. Okay, moving on. NC State. Team that kind of underwhelmed at certain parts last year and then got 8th at the national meet. Like, just came through again. Solid, reliable. Hannah Gapes and Grace Hartman are they the best 1-2 punch in the country? They were last year. Are they still there? You could make the argument that they are. Maybe depends on Stanford's Amy Bunnage and Sophia Kennedy. Depends on if Thorvaldson's as good as she was in 2023 along with Noe. Yeah, there are questions. There are real questions. But not the point. The point being is NC State, Hartman, Gapes, and then Angeline Napoleon. 9-10 in the steeple, going to the World Championships. How does that translate? Like, I know we're questionable. Like, we're very cautious about steeplechasers on the grass. But, man, you got to believe that a 9-10 steeplechaser is going to be an All-American, right? Right? Someone say right. Because I have a little bit of a concern. I do. But, man, I find it hard to believe that she won't be a top 40 name on the grass. Napoleon, that is. And then it's really the reinforcements that make me feel really good about this team. Really like Kaylee Armitage. I think she's a fantastic pickup from Furman. Fleur Templier from Portland. Crazy good upside, sub-9 3K runner. I really, really like her. I think she has great upside and could be sneaky good. Brooke Robber, at her best, really good. Very inconsistent, very injury prone, but the best version of Robber is a very stable back-end piece that NC State kind of needs. Ellie Shia, solid underrated season last year, right? They have freshmen who are really solid. Sadie Englehart being one of them, and I'm trying to think of any other names who I'm maybe not thinking of right now. Let's see here. Who else? Yeah. So I think I kind of hit the big ones. Bethany Machalik, Kate Putman, or is it Putnam? I forget. But the depth is really good. Like the depth is going to be way better than last year. Much higher floor. I think the floor for this team is like 6 or 7. I think they have tremendous depth. Do they have the firepower to be on the podium? If Napoleon's an All-American, probably, especially with Gapes and Hartman being as potent as they are. But I don't, like we just don't know yet. But I like NC State. Like I don't think it's impossible. I don't know if I'd say they're a favorite, but I think they're more than a contender for the title. I don't know if I'd put them in the same tier. I think there's like a 1A for our top 2 teams and a 1B. I think they kind of reside. I don't know if they reside. Maybe along with New Mexico, they reside in 1B. I think they can win the national title. I don't think they're favored to. So, okay, moving off of that, we're going to go to number 2. On the men's side, New Mexico. Yes, they lose Ishmael Kipkuri. Yes, we know. We're aware. Yes, some of their guys are pretty inconsistent. Yes, I know. We don't care. We just don't. We don't care. Hampton Samuels, he's a top 2 runner in the country. He's just flat out incredible. And then if you kind of look at the rest of this team, I believe so strongly in Vincent Chirichir. He's a top 30 name in our individual rankings. Really, really good. Colin Skiprotich, another top 30 name or close to it. He was an All-American last fall, 35th. Evans Kiplagat has been a 2-time All-American. These are 4 guys that could realistically be All-Americans and frankly should be All-Americans. And if that happens, you are getting this gets really interesting. New Mexico could also add another international name, and all of a sudden we're looking at this team like, could they win the national title? I still think they could win the national title. So yes, are they inconsistent? Yes, I agree. Do I have questions about how the international athletes will continue to translate? Yes. But this team is more experienced. There is less, how do I put this? There was less to prove, right? These guys have the experience now. Like there's no like, well, they're young and new and there's downside. There's in theory less downside. But they had 3 All-Americans last fall and they should have had 4 with Vincent Chirichir. The question is, who is the 5th? And why is that 5th going to be Lucas Kiprop? Lucas Kiprop has run 7:47 for the 3K and 13:49 for the 5K. He wasn't perfect by any means on the track. He's still very inconsistent. But he was way better on the track this past year than he has been previously with New Mexico. And he was 5th at Mountain West last fall, Mountain West Conference XC Championships. And he's run under 750 like 3 separate times in his New Mexico career. Yeah, he's run 751 or faster 4 times just with New Mexico alone. And he's run even faster separately. If Lucas Kiprop is at his best, and if he delivers on the All-American upside, New Mexico can win the national title. Truly believe that. Yes, I have major questions about the consistency. Yes, I don't know who's available after 5. Iker Sanchez could be that name. Joshua Abraham, 337 for 1,500 meters. Iker Sanchez was the one who, oh my gosh, what am I saying? I know who the 5th guy's going to be. It's Matthew Koski. Oops. My fault. See, this is why I don't have Ben with me. Sometimes you just need him. Matthew Koski. That's right. I was like, I feel like I'm missing someone. Yeah, that's why. I was forgetting Matthew Koski. 8'7 steeplechaser. 8'17 steeplechaser. He was an All-American on the outdoor oval. If he is anywhere as good on the grass as he is on the track, New Mexico can win the national title for sure. Kosky's the one. Like, he's the X factor. I know I was talking about Kiprop, but Kiprop's kind of like a much bigger X factor. He's a much bigger wild card. Kosky is, I mean, if he hits, yeah, New Mexico's a problem. And I think Kosky could be a top 50 runner. I really do. So, yeah, that is, I completely forgot about him. Don't know why. Probably because he didn't race last fall. But so through 5, I feel pretty good. And then you gotta, after 5, you gotta pray a little bit. You definitely have to pray a little bit. They also brought in Matthew Giordana, 7th at Foot Locker XC National Championships. Fiano Murchu? I don't know. 14:12 for 5K while in high school over in England. So the team's got talent, young talent, high upside names. We'll see. Iker Sanchez ran 13:37 in the 5K. There's some dudes. So it's not like the depth is void on this team, but through 5, you feel really, really good. After that, it's more like you have a coin flip for a couple of these guys. On the women's side, I'm going to lump the first and second teams together because I think it's important to talk about them together. And also because I don't think there's a right or wrong answer. I think you're correct regardless of who you choose at 1, as long as it's one of these 2 teams. At number 2, we have the BYU women. And at number 1, we have the Oregon women. If you have the BYU women at number 1, you're not wrong. We just think Oregon's 1. I don't disagree. They lose Lexi Halliday-Lowry, which is tough. They also lose Carmen Alder, I want to say. Of course, they bring in Jane Hedegren. This is BYU, of course, I'm talking about. Bring in Jane Hedegren, high school phenom. And like phenom's not even like a proper term for that. I mean, she's an all-time mega superstar phenom kind of thing. Like she's incredible. We have her as a top 5 name in the country for this fall. We'll see, but like she's probably better than Lexi Halliday-Lowry was last fall. Jenna Hutchins, you add her to the list, right? Riley Chamberlain. You have Taylor Rohotinsky. Who else am I thinking of? Oh, just had it. Yeah, I mean, it's the list goes on of like all-American women. Alder not being there is kind of like it's kind of why we didn't really have her. It's kind of why we didn't really have BYU at 1. We would have liked to see Alder come back, but still a really, really good squad. Carly Hansen's also gone, I should mention, but they bring back Neela Roberts, who's really strong as a freshman. Taylor Lovell, also a great steeplechasser. It's Diljit Taylor. They're really strong. They have 4 All-Americans. They won the national title without Jenna Hutchins last year. I can see them winning. And the only reason I don't see them winning right now at this moment in time is because I think Oregon is just more potent. I think BYU is way deeper, and I think Oregon is way more potent. Oregon brings back Juliet Cherubit. They add, oh my gosh, who was the name that they just had? I'm completely blanking. You can tell that it's been a long day for me, right? Diana Cheritich. There we go. Diana Cheritich. Juliet Cherubit, Diana Cheritich. Shalana Yildiz is supposed to be getting a waiver, or like she applied for a waiver and she's pending. We think she's set to return. Elmore is not. So there's that, right? And then Anika Thompson, that's the 4. That's 4 All-Americans right there. And it's 4 All-Americans who are probably better than the 4 All-Americans that BYU will have. I mean, the Cheritich, Cherubit, Ayildez trio is 3 of the top 13 runners in the country, right? Like, that's crazy good firepower. I don't know how BYU counters that through 3. 4 is where things get a little more interesting. You do bring back Anika Thompson, who was an All-American last fall. She peaked in the postseason brilliantly, I might add. She just won World University Games in the 10K? Maybe I'm getting that mixed up as well. Maybe it was I think she ran the 5K, 10K double. But she just had a great summer. She was the U23? Let's see, shall we? She was the U20 European U23 championships where she won the 10K in 32:31. Great result from her. She had a really nice year. Can she replicate the All-American honor that she had? Who knows? But let's just say right now, I mean, Oregon's got 4 All-Americans. They will find a 5. They'll be deep enough through 7. I'm just not worried about it. Like Mia Barnett's set to return, and like when she's at her best on the grass, she's a problem. She's really good. She was 7th at Big Tens last fall. She was 18th at Nuttycombe. She struggled at the national meet, but at her best, she's borderline All-American. Yes, I know she's more middle distance on the track, but if you don't believe me, remember that back in 2022, when she ran for Virginia, she was 44th at the national meet. Like she's a very good number 5 to have in your lineup, Mia Barnett. So between Delia Frias, who we don't even know if she's healthy, but if she is, that would be huge, right? Like, what does Wilma Nielsen do after such a successful year on over 1,500 meters? Allie Ince, same thing with her. Is there a newcomer we're just not aware about? Katie Clutie, right? The list goes on. So we would agree that BYU has more depth. Oregon just has more firepower. And we think Oregon has just enough depth to get by. And that's why we have them at 1. On the men's side, Iowa State. Scary good team. Scary good team. They've got Robin Kiwa-Berra. They've got Rogers Kiplimo. They've got Sanel Masando. They've got Joash Ruto. They've got Devin Kipyego. The 4 guys I just listed are top 30 All-Americans, or top 30 names, I should say. They're top 30 talents. Robert Kiwa-Berra, Ruto, Kiplimo, and Sanel Masando are top 30 guys. They just need a competent 5th. That's all they need. And Devin Kipyego is really good. Kipyego, I think last fall, he was 93rd at the national meet. And you could argue that was like his quote unquote off day. I don't know what Iowa State does at the Big 12 championships. I feel like they sometimes just don't always go all out for it for whatever reason. But Kipyego was 30th at pre-nationals, and he was 33rd at the Nuttycombe Invite. Listen, I get it. Like Iowa State, it's weird because like Kiplimo, we've had critiques about him being inconsistent. Same thing with Masando. We don't know how, is Ruto ready to take that next step? He was an All-American last fall, but is he ready to take that next step? Same thing with Robin Kiwa-Berra, who actually also was an All-American last fall, not far behind. But this team loses Saeed Mikkel, and outside of, they lose Mikkel, and as a result, they don't have a top 20 All-American from last fall. There's no guarantee that they're going to have a top 20 guy, but it's still very likely that they do. And plus, there's a chance they bring in another international name. There's a very good chance. And if that happens, I'm kind of banking on it to happen, but even if it doesn't, they're complete through 4, they're complete through 5. You could argue that's probably the best top 4 in the country. I think I would argue. Yes, I have questions. Yes, I don't know what Masando or Kiplimo. I can't always bank on them, but they've been way better lately. And when you look at New Mexico has just as many questions. When you look at Oklahoma State, they have just as many, if not more, questions. When you look at BYU, it's is their firepower going to be nearly as good? I don't think so. Wake Forest, we don't know who their 5 is going to be. Virginia, they haven't cracked the top 20 of the national meet in the last 3 years. Oregon's very unproven. Great upside, but unproven. And you can see, as I go through this, we kind of surprised ourselves when we put Iowa State at 1. And then it was well, who else would you put there? then we kind of sat back and we're like, yeah, it's Iowa State. On paper, they are the best team right now. Do I think they're like heavy All-American favorites? No. I think them, I think New Mexico, I think Oklahoma State, and I think BYU can all realistically win the national title this fall. I think it's going to be very, very tight. I think those are 4 clear-cut national title contenders. I don't necessarily think there's like a massive gap between any of them, but I think on paper, Iowa State does have the edge. So, all right. That's it. 70 minutes and counting. I know I kind of had a few hiccups there. I do apologize. Thank you for bearing with me. But productive. We knocked it all out. We're going to try to get Ben next week. We've got a little bit of a scheduling conflict again, but we're going to try to make it work. If not, I'll try to bring on someone. And then we'll get ready for the season, right? I know all the rust busters just happened. I'm well aware. Trust me, they mean nothing. They're just to get the race counts for the NCAA rules, whatever it may be. So yeah, productive day. Glad we did this. Glad we got the podcast done. We went all through that, so now we can kind of get ready for the rest of the season. If you haven't already, 5-star ratings and reviews on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. If you're also subscribed on YouTube, we're having a lot of traction there. That would be awesome. And of course, please leave a written review as well if you can. That would be great. But until next time, guys, I'll talk to you.